listen there. Great game. 50 seconds to go. Hurts. Deep shot. Hauled in. Devontae.
Sure. And before the press conferences even start. I mean, we could talk for 45 minutes just about how atrocious the defense is.
All right, and very good morning, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody here on Super Bowl Monday, the day after the big game, trending in the AM, right here on DSM Media, live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. As always, like the video, share the video, retweet the video, head over to YouTube, hit subscribe, and the thumbs up button, and that's the best way to get involved, either on the DSM Media Facebook or YouTube page, where I can take your comments, put them up right on the screen like these examples that I have got there. So DSM Media on Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, if you're watching on Twitter, make sure you hit that retweet button and enjoy the show. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk Super Bowl. It's Overreaction Monday. It's Valentine's Day. So we're going to have a lot of fun, a spirited debate. I am your host, Phil Stifel, at Beard of Knowledge, joined by my always on Overreaction Monday buddy, Mark Moscatelli, at Mark with a C Moscatelli, and my man, Jason Voorhees, at Mustaine3651. Good morning, gentlemen. And how are we feeling? Because Super Bowl Sunday is a late night for all of us old heads. Then we got to get up early and work or do a show. The day after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday or something, right?
Should yes, be. It should. So where I work, we and it boggled my mind. We put out there the option for our guys to start 2 hours later if they so please to do, because we get so many call outs the day after the Super Bowl. So we kind of threw it out there. If you hey, you could start at like 7 instead of 5 if you want. And I heard a lot of our guys took us up on it. So we'll be running a little late today. So
I would absolutely take you up on. I'd probably be even late on the extra 2 hours. Jason, how you doing today?
Doing lovely, man. I'm happy.
Lovely. You got to throw lovely in there on the day of love, Valentine's Day.
Absolutely. I don't have a Valentine, but
yeah. It's an overrated holiday anyway.
I agree. This is the way I always say it. If I did have a significant other, every day I would treat my significant other special every day. Absolutely. To me, Valentine's Day is a day that we always said, like at work when people, guys were coming to get flowers, like a lot of these guys never do anything for their wives other than Valentine's Day, and it's it kind of takes away from the day.
Yeah, it's a Hallmark holiday. I hate it. Always have hated it. Owning a pizza shop and selling heart-shaped pizzas now, I kind of, I kind of take advantage of the Hallmark holiday and try to make a little extra money on it. So if you want a heart-shaped pizza, come by Fox's Pizza. If that's what you're giving your loved one on Valentine's Day, you're going to be in the doghouse. But you might as well do it anyway and give it a shot. Anyway, we're going to talk Overreaction Monday here. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We are going to talk about the halftime show, the commercials, the game itself. But hashtag Overreaction Monday, I'm going to start with the Super Bowl. Rams win 23-20. I'm not even going to make the overreaction statement description here. All I'm going to say is Overreaction Monday. The refs decided the game, and I'm just going to turn my mic off and let Mark start off here. Because I know Mark has something to say about the referees last night.
It's not an overreaction, Phil. It was a disgrace. A disgrace it was. That flag was in their pocket the entire game, and then when it came down to, oh boy, the big market Rams in SoFi Stadium could probably win the game. Let's help them out and throw some flags on some ticky-tack calls and help them get in the game. Not only that, Kupp got smacked in the head hard, and he didn't go into concussion protocol. And oh, by the way, for some reason, COVID protocol did not exist in the playoffs. Nobody called COVID. Nobody was put out. Like, as much as I love the NFL and the football games, as much as I love it, they are hypocritical and they're a disgrace. That whole organization from top to bottom, the NFL and all their owners and all their teams, Eagles included, are a disgrace. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Jason, do you have a response to that?
Well, no, I mean, honestly, I actually agree with Mark's point, but here's where I'm at with it. It's nothing new. The NFL's officiating has been piss poor garbage all season long. So what made anyone
It's getting worse and
realistically
worse.
believe that it would be any different in the Super Bowl? And oh, by the way, the Bengals did give up a long drive there before that last play. The Rams went up and pretty much it was the Matt Stafford Cooper Kupp show that last drive, and that just showed you the excellence that duo has. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that yes, there were flags that could have been thrown, in other parts of the game that weren't, but we did see a big play for the Bengals that realistically shouldn't have happened if you wanted to be honest about it, when Ramsey was pretty much manhandled.
Right.
With
the face mask and thrown to the ground.
So with that, to like I said, to me, obviously, selfishly, I was happy because I was rooting for the Rams.
Right.
But I see where that argument comes in, and I guess
so really interesting. I was driving home from the pizza shop like 5-10 minutes before the game started, and I had XM radios, like football coverage, on in the car, and they were I didn't catch the name. The duo that was doing the pregame show on XM had a former referee, on the show, and they were asking him questions like, does the NFL send you like a list of how to ref a Super Bowl, or a big game, or goals, and does the reffing team like get together and talk? How are we going to call this game? And he said, look, the goal and what you're told to do in a game like this is just continue the trend that you've done all year. If your ref team or your ref group is a ticky-tack-fail guy team, then just continue. You got to stay consistent. But then we just saw that obviously wasn't the case.
So they were told to continue to suck.
Yeah, basically, yes. Basically.
Let me add something here.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that the NFL has certain narratives that they want played out throughout the season in certain games. And they assign certain ref crews to certain games that they know that could go one way or the other, that it'll go to the way that they want to. I firmly believe that the league does give the referees instructions on what to call heavily or what to lay off on each and every game to allow a certain narrative to play out. You cannot tell me any different. I'm stopping short of saying that the games are fixed. I'm just saying that they want a certain story to play out. And as for George said, I seem surprised. You are on the grandest stage of all, the biggest show on earth, with the most viewers, with the two best teams, and I expect close to perfection by their officiating crew. And my understanding is with the officiating crew, unless they've changed it, they do not use a crew that has been together the entire season. They pick from all over. So you got a bunch of guys working together who have more or less not worked together the entire season. And I'm not sure that's a recipe for success for a game like that. Again, be consistent. They did not call the face mask. They did not call Aaron Donald who was off sides. They did not call.
But see, I got to interrupt you because the face mask one. So we're arguing two different things here. First off, the ticky-tack fails at the end are different than the face mask. The face mask one was just a blown call. That was like a clear, blatant, over-the-top penalty that was just missed. The ticky-tack fouls at the end were actual fouls. It was just fouls that they weren't called. You can't compare the missing of the face mask to the ticky-tack fouls because the face mask was over-the-top blatant. That wasn't them just letting a ticky-tack foul go. That was letting them miss a massive, massive penalty. The ticky-tack fouls at the end were them changing how they were calling the game. You know what I mean? So you can't really compare those two because it was a little – they're little situations.
That first play by 55 was not a penalty. That was a clean play. And that one in the corner with Kupp, that was not a catchable ball. Was there contact? Did he have his hands around his waist? Yes, but that ball was not catchable. So I put the flag in your pocket and let them play the goddamn game.
Hey, Mark, what happened to the Bengals defense at the end of the game? They failed. Listen. We can talk about the flags, but let's talk about the game. Wait. Let me talk.
Go ahead.
Let me talk. What about the game? So the Bengals had a chance even after the Rams scored to go down and score. And we're told about how great Joe Burrow was this year, which he is. He's a great young quarterback. Very exciting. I love the guy. But you know what? At the end of the day, he didn't get it done. And you could say all you want, but I heard all these arguments in that Bills-Chiefs game about how, well, you can't complain about it because that's the rule, about that overtime rule. And what happened to the Bills stopping the Chiefs? Well, you could say the same thing in this game, Mark.
Absolutely.
That the Bengals
you can blame Joe Burrow. You can blame the coaching and the play calling. I mean, you got Joe Mixon, 15 rushes for 72 yards. He was pretty much, getting his way.
Also threw
you
a
had
touchdown.
multiple. You had plays for, a first down, and you give the ball at the end of the game to how do you say his name? Shane Perini. However you say his name, Sam J. Perini. Why are you giving the ball to Sam J. Perini? He had 2 touches in the fourth quarter, and that was it the whole game. Why were you giving him the ball there? So if you want to talk about the ref, you can talk about that the Bengals
huge drop,
crash and burn,
and the huge drop. Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, that was big. That was big.
Tyler Boyd had not dropped a pass in the whole season. I couldn't believe that. That's an amazing stat. And he drops probably the biggest pass of his career right there.
Yeah. Let me rewind just a bit. Jason, you're absolutely right. That last drive, they went in prevent mode, and they allowed Kupp to run all over the field, and he ended up scoring the essential game-winning touchdown. My problem with everything down at the goal line there with those flags and whatnot is time. Time was ticking away. Had they not thrown those flags, chances are the Rams probably would have scored. Anyway. They're going to score, but there was going to be more time on that clock, which would have given Burrow a little bit more time to play with, and probably all of his timeouts, where he could set up his drive a little more accordingly. That didn't happen. Did he get the ball less than a minute? He had less than a minute to go, or something. I don't remember. Was it over a minute? Okay. That's where I have the problem. It changed the flow of the game. Thank you, George. P-Ryan. It changed the flow of the game. It really did. And was Burrow going to come back and win the game? I don't know. Probably not. But at the same time, don't allow the Zebras to influence the outcome of the game. And I felt that towards the end, they were influencing the outcome of the game.
I don't want to spend the whole show talking about the rest because I want to talk about the game itself more and all. But I want to go back to you, Mark, on the one thing you said about the Cooper Kupp. I put that tweet out as soon as the hit happened. I'm like, Cooper Kupp, I hope he's okay. But I could not believe he was not taken out of the game, at least to be checked. There's no way. But then someone, I forget who it was, somebody commented on my Twitter, my tweet about it, that they're not going to pull out Kupp in the Super Bowl, in the end of a football game like that, the Super Bowl. I'm like, I understand that. But the one thing you hear about all the time is they want to be consistent with the rules. They want to be consistent with the calling and everything else. The fact that they let that guy take that big of a hit, and you could tell he was rattled from that hit. And he was fine. He went in and caught the touchdown pass right after that and all. But the fact that they didn't do that just shows the lack of, consistency on what they do. And if he takes another hard hit, if he had a concussion, he takes another hard hit on the next play, that could be the end of the guy's career.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what got me upset the most.
And let's rewind back to the Eagles Super Bowl when Jenkins took out Brandon Cooks. And Brandon Cooks was a player that I was scared of going into that Super Bowl. And he got his clock clean, and they took him out of the game, and you never saw him again. So, again, that is the hypocrisy that is NFL football.
I understand you're calling that hypocrisy, and I agree. But you can't compare that hit to the hit Kupp took. That dude, Brandon Cooks got laid out. He was on the ground for seconds. It was an obvious concussion. I mean, Kupp, you could question it and say, well, should he have went in and got checked? Possibly. But like I said, Super Bowl, different. It's a different game. It's all about money. The league's not going to do it. Sure, the Rams sure as hell aren't going to take their best play. Cooper Kupp is basically the reason they won the Super Bowl. I mean, if they didn't have Cooper Kupp, they probably would win.
I would disagree with you on that one. But
losing, well, I know because you believe it's the refs. But also,
no.
And also losing.
Talk about Aaron Donald.
No, losing OBJ to me
that was crippling.
was actually the difference maker in the whole game to the point where the momentum was basically sucked away from the Rams, because the Rams had, even though it was only a one possession game, the Rams were playing with, like, you could tell it was like a confidence that they had. When OBJ went down, like Matt Stafford, I think, was like 11 of 12 at one point for 140 yards and then 2 touchdowns. And then when OBJ went down, I believe after that, he was like 4 for 12 and he had the 2 interceptions. He couldn't buy a pass. So to me, that was actually the difference maker in the game until we got down to that end, obviously, where, you know, they went on that last drive and scored.
Yeah, until they figured out throwing the Kupp. I agree with you there. OBJ going down took the wind out of their sail big time. And I have posted on Facebook that he was early front runner for MVP, and it was going to be a track meet if he was going to stay in that game, and the Rams probably were going to run away with it. But I mean, that evened the playing field too. I kind of feel bad that he blew his knee out. He probably looked like he blew his knee out on that turf.
The same ACL.
Yeah, but I'm not an OBJ fan, but like I felt bad for the guy. I really did. So
I mean, let's talk about it though, because Overreaction Monday, and we've been talking about this nonstop. Especially with the Eagles and what the Eagles should do. You slowly build, through the draft and whatnot, or do you go out, you make a trade for Russell Wilson, you go out and spend all your money? Because let's look at it. The Rams bought their team to an extent, traded picks, signed. Big free agents, all that kind of stuff. The Bengals built it through the draft, so they've got a young team. They didn't get it. There's no guarantee they get back to the Super Bowl. The AFC is loaded with talented quarterbacks. So, which way, George? Which way do you go? Do you go the Rams route? I mean, you look at it, LA now has won 3 titles. The Rams, the Lakers, and the Dodgers.
I hate that city.
Team. I know. I hate the city too.
They
all
so
bought
bad.
their teams. All bought their teams.
All right, I'll go to a quick LA thing. I got to get it off my chest. Los Angeles is one of the worst sports teams or sports communities out there, and they are some of the most violent fans in all of professional sports in the world. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I had to get that off my chest. But Phil, to your point, the NFL is a copycat league, and the Rams just bought themselves a Super Bowl. What does Howie go to spin
buy it or you build it? Getting a Super Bowl is getting a Super Bowl.
Does Howie go and follow that?
Howie go. You saw the pictures of Howie or Roger Goodell and Russell Wilson in the booth together, and all the memes like him saying, "Should I go to Philly or should I not go to Philly?" floating around Twitter.
Russell,
buying a would you rather buy a championship and have that championship parade down Broadway, or maybe build long-term success and maybe not win a Super Bowl? I want another Super Bowl. I'd rather buy it than lose it.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me 3 questions.
Okay.
Only 3.
Here's my question to you. Or maybe let me change it. It's not really a question. I'll rephrase it. It's more of like a situation. So the Rams traded for Matt Stafford, okay? That was kind of the final piece. They went and finally got the quarterback after they had the rest of the team. So the Eagles trading for Aaron Rodgers right now or Russell Wilson, to me, is a moot point because the Eagles don't have an Aaron Donald. The Eagles don't have a Jalen Ramsey. The Eagles don't have a Cooper Kupp. The Eagles don't have an OBJ. They don't have any of these guys, okay? So, yes, I agree with the model, but the Eagles are nowhere near that model yet. So, to me, I think you go the safe route and you kind of go with Jalen Hurts next year. I don't want this to become that kind of a discussion, but you did ask the question. So my point is,
you can't guarantee the result either way. But the overreaction is possible. The buying it won the Super Bowl this year. So the overreaction statement is that is the way to do it because it happened and it worked this year.
But the Rams also did it the right way. They kind of built, traded, and then finally got the quarterback as the final piece. To me, the quarterback is the final piece. If you want that superstar quarterback and you're one player away from the Super Bowl, yes, you go and get him.
Maybe with a superstar quarterback, you're not as far away as you think. You still got a great running game. You got a great offensive line. It looks like Jason Kelsey is going to be back. Okay, you've got Devontae Smith. You've got Dallas Goedert. You have other draft picks and you have free agent money to go improve the defense.
You don't
go
have
out
an
and
Aaron
buy.
Donald.
You can go buy the safety Williams from the Saints. You could go out and make 3 or 4 adjustments, and you add Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers to the offense. All of a sudden, Devontae Smith goes from really good to great. Dallas Goedert goes from really good to great. Maybe Quez Watkins becomes a really good wide receiver, going from average to really good. I'm just saying.
Can I ask you though, why is everyone super focused on Russell Wilson when he already said he's not leaving? He wants to play in Seattle the rest of his career.
You know how many people say things and then something else happens? That's why I'm not even sold that Jason Kelsey's coming back. So I haven't actually seen him sign pen to paper for another contract. So.
You know, it's funny. We are salivating over the Russell Wilsons and Aaron Rodgers. Like, Russell Wilson's 33 years old and relies heavily on his legs for the game. Aaron Rodgers is what, 37? Like 38? Like, come on, guys. They're too old. Listen, they're great players, but they're on the down.
Russell Wilson.
I don't know, dude. I mean, he took a big step back.
Matt Stafford's 33, and he just won a Super Bowl.
Stafford just won a Super Bowl at that age. It's Overreaction Monday. We're trying to have fun with this conversation.
Yeah.
And I get what you guys are saying. I do.
And as for buying a
slow rebuild and stuff like that.
Listen, the Eagles tried it in the Reid era by building through the draft and whatnot, and it didn't come to fruition. They got to a Super Bowl. They had a great team, but they didn't win it.
I don't trust Howie to buy a Super Bowl. Let's put it that way.
But he did already in 2017.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the free agent signings that he had, that team wasn't built organically. They plugged a lot of holes through free agency and trades, and he more or less bought a Super Bowl there. It was a one and done one, but I mean, that's what it is. You can make arguments for both. I'd like to see them. They're not ready, Jason, to just plug a quarterback in and win a Super Bowl. They need a top 5. They need a top 5 defense. They need a vertical passing game.
Yeah.
Those are the two big things that they need.
Mark saying it and George saying it. Dude, Russell Wilson is not in the sunset of his career. He's 33 years old. That's no way the sunset of your career.
They're not getting Russell Wilson.
I know we're not getting Russell Wilson. But the point is to discuss buying versus not. And Russell Wilson played for Seattle. And everybody's talking about how bad he played this year. He had his first injury ever in his career, and it was a freak hand injury. Secondly, he played behind probably one of, if not the worst offensive lines in football this year, with literally no running game whatsoever to discuss. His number one running back, Chris Carson, missed a lot of time this year. Their defense was nowhere near what it used to be. So I don't want to hear that he's in the sunset of his career. If he stays in Seattle, that's great. If he goes somewhere else to a contending team, he's going to make them better and a playoff team instantly. Okay? Russell Wilson's career is not on the – it's at the peak. It's going to eventually come down. But 33 years old for a quarterback that's only missed games this year in his entire career is not – he's not on the decline yet. He's at the peak at this point. I'm just saying. You can't throw the ball if you don't have time to stand up and throw the ball.
Once again, Phil,
can't protect you.
Once again, the Rams did it, but they have Cooper Kupp, best wide receiver in the NFL. Devonta Smith is a great listen. Love the guy. Glad we drafted him. Devonta Smith is nowhere near Cooper Kupp at this point in his career.
But you throw Russell Wilson on there, all of a sudden he's better.
It doesn't matter. Better doesn't equal best. Better doesn't equul where you're at. My point is if you're not ready to win it, then you don't make that kind of move and bring in a quarterback that's going to cost $50 million a year on your
$49.99 million maybe
or whatever it is. But it doesn't make sense mathematically. If you want to do it 3 years from now, if you're ready and you've fixed all those holes and you've gotten to the point where, dude. I mean, you can make an argument that yesterday the MVP should have been Aaron Donald over Cooper Kupp.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was that dominant in the game, even though, the Bengals were still leading. I mean,
Can we go on a side tangent there on Aaron Donald? Did you guys know he was considering retirement? Because they asked him that question
out of nowhere.
I had no idea that was even a topic of discussion anywhere. I never heard that before.
Well, it became a topic because you probably missed it because you were driving. early in the game, like the woman on the sidelines was talking about it, and she said,
Okay.
"I just talked to Aaron Donald, and he said that retirement could be a possibility." Like he dropped it there.
Oh, I had no idea.
that was a big
I missed
scoop.
that, yeah, I did
And
not
it was
know about that.
a lot of people were blindsided on that one.
Completely
But-
blindsided by that.
But
Totally.
Jason, you're right, dude. Like they are not ready right now. Maybe next year, as they add some pieces to the puzzle. Maybe they go from 9-8 to like 13 wins next year or 12 wins, but maybe miss out on the first round bye. They need the quarterback to get them over the hump. Maybe you go at that route at that time. I don't know.
It's also the theory that the NFC is a lot easier to win than the AFC. So adding Russell Wilson to an average team, whether it's the Eagles or another team, it's not like you got to go through Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Herbert, and all those guys. You got to go through, and maybe Aaron Rodgers, if he goes to Denver, which would be my best guess, and one of these other big-name quarterbacks on the move is going to go to Pittsburgh probably. So all of a sudden, it's not hard. The best quarterback and team you got to beat in the AFC is the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Kyler Murray, who knows where? Kyler Murray's going to stay in Arizona. I think there's just a lot of, he's just like being a little whatever right now. But, outside of that, they're the two best teams quarterback-wise in the NFC. It's not like the Rams are unbeatable.
Aaron Rodgers.
What?
You just said Russell Wilson and
No, Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers could probably go to the AFC. I said Kyler Murray and Dak.
Oh, okay.
Are the two teams, are the
Kyler
two
Murray.
guys that you have to worry about.
Phil,
I'm not worried about Kyler Murray.
Phil reminds me of Daryl Morey. How Daryl Morey was like focused on James Harden. Phil is like focused on Russell Wilson. It's like Russell Wilson or bust.
Does he have a poster of him in the
told you
room
all-
there? I can't tell.
I
Is it
told
over
you
there?
guys, week 12 of the NFL season, I am going to be so obnoxious all season.
I love you.
Russell
Man.
Wilson.
I do.
Hey,
Look, it's
listen.
Reaction Monday. That's what this is about.
There's quarterbacks that are going to be available. Carson Wentz is available.
Oh my God! How about that? That's funny.
That was a bombshell too. I thought, like they basically said he's going to be traded or cut. And once you make that announcement, nobody's going to trade for the guy. He's going to get cut before he gets his bonuses.
I don't see them cutting him. I don't. And I don't think he had that bad of a season.
Yeah, he wasn't great,
No.
but he wasn't bad.
No, he put up some decent numbers.
27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
When push came to shove, when it was time for him to win certain games, he fell on his face. I think that's what a lot of the problems are. That and down the stretch when they were making a playoff run, he was putrid. So, but when you look at just from the surface on his numbers, yeah, his numbers were decent. They were decent, and he kind of looked like he bounced back from the previous year. But like giving up on him after 1 year, after giving away what you did, is
that's why he's not going anywhere.
Man,
Keep him.
That's why I believe it's
Colts are keeping him.
it's
They're
kind
not
of bogus.
They're not going to give up a first round pick and then get rid of the guy after one season, after a mediocre season, not a bad season, a mediocre season. They're not getting rid of Carson. There's no chance.
Especially when you have so much history there with him and Frank Reich. I mean, let's face it, like I still believe that obviously Doug Peterson was like the ringleader of that whole team. Like he was the leader of men. But Frank Reich was very instrumental, and as far as that offense went, I mean, we have to be real about it. And there is definitely a connection there. Why would the Colts have went and got Carson Wentz? It had to be on recommendation of Frank Reich. He's not going to just put his name out there for somebody and then say, we're cutting him. I mean, I could see if they're a little frustrated in the return because they expected, more. They expected to do well in the playoffs. That's understandable. But to just get rid of the guy after 1 year in an NFL where quarterbacks are not easy to come by. I mean, Carson Wentz might not be good, but he's definitely not. I would say he's better than top 20. I mean, and there's 10 quarterbacks.
I would agree with you there. I think from a skill level, I think he might be top 15. But what is he behind the scenes? What is he like a teammate? What is he like a leader? But like I think those are, and I talked about intangibles on a quarterback position before in these shows. He's proven that he's subpar at best, but with that, and I'm curious to see what his relationship is with his teammates over there.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry, back to the game.
A little bit on a tangent there. Go ahead, get us back on track, Phil.
Get back on the Super Bowl game. So I'm looking at, the importance of. I mean, we'll get off of overreacting on Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or whatever. Let's talk about what the Eagles really need. And two things you saw in that game on both sides. Okay, the need for depth at wide receiver. You don't just need Cooper Kupp, because they almost lost that game, the Rams, when OBJ went down and they didn't have a third or a fourth skilled. What's the guy that stepped up? What's his name? How do you say
Jefferson?
Skowronek?
Oh, that's that guy.
Skowronek dropping multiple passes because he was like basically, he was like the fourth guy on the team and he had to step up and make plays. He couldn't. And on the other side, having a deep secondary for the Bengals. I mean, man, Eli Apple is probably one of the most hated people in football today.
He got toasted yesterday.
Yeah, it's like Isaiah Jenkins all over again.
He had a bad game. And you know who else had a bad game? Jalen Ramsey had a bad game. He let up 2 big bombs. Face mask or not, he was.
This is not overreaction. This is more importance and realistic. A team needs depth in the secondary in pretty much at all positions. Because when a guy goes down, or you
Next
only
man
have
up.
one good quarterback, you got to have a next man up that goes up. So, I mean, I just think looking at the Eagles realistically, not overreacting, realistically, they really need to work on the depth, because you saw last night in a big game, the lack of depth at wide receiver almost killed the Rams, and the lack of depth in the secondary, it did kill the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you're actually spot on. To Mark's point, though, like, I think we got to just be real here. Like, the fact that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins both beat Ramsey, like, we got to just talk about how good that young duo is. Like, unbelievable to have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins as your wide receiver 1 and 2. I mean, that team is set for the foreseeable future with those guys. And that's exactly what you want the Eagles to do, with obviously pair Devonta Smith with another guy, that whether it's free agent or draft, whatever it is, they need more. And that's it. You're right. It's blatantly obvious when you watch games like this and you see wide receivers making plays all over the field, including OBJ. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the Eagles and you look back at our season and just kind of in a glance and just know that it was either Devonta Smith or nobody. And that to me is a scary thing, because you're right. If you don't fix that, I don't care how much better Jalen Hurts gets, or if he even gets better. It won't matter, because you won't have the pieces to get it done. And the same goes to the defense.
Really easy for a guy like Joe Burrow to be in his second year in the league, to be in the Super Bowl, when you've got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and all those weapons to throw to. You take away 2 of those weapons, does Joe Burrow get the Bengals to the Super Bowl by throwing if you take out those 2 guys and put Jay Jaw and Jalen Reagor on the Bengals, does the Bengals get to the Super Bowl? Not at all. So it's really important to address those positions.
Let me just throw this out to you guys. And yeah, they are stacked at those positions, but at what cost? How many years have the Bengals, since their last Super Bowl visit, were absolutely putrid and had a number 1 draft pick or a top 5? The Eagles will never be in that position. They may have off years, or they may have one terrible year, but they're never going to have a string of, 5 3-win seasons in a row or something like that. Jeffrey Lurie will never, ever allow that. And the organization itself is a very attractive organization for free agents and players to come here. It is one of the few really good organizations in the NFL. There's a lot of dog organizations that are out there. So you got to look at that at what cost. So it's really important for Howie to hit in those mid rounds, and he does hit in them. As for depth, your offensive line is super deep. And
that's actually where I thought you were going to go when you were saying, when you started that last thing about the organization, I thought you were going to, at what cost did Joe Burrow take years off his career? because they invested so much in wide receiver weapons, and the guy's been getting. I mean, he took 7 more sacks last night. That boy. I don't know if you guys saw him grabbing his knee. Tell me you guys didn't think for like
and
half a second,
he was limping after the game too. And I bet you're going to find out that his knee has some significant damage to it. Yeah, and listen, more power to him and guess what? Stafford got hurt too. He had his leg all twisted up pretty bad as well. It was a pretty physical game. But getting back to again depth, because I do think that's important. Your offensive line is deep, but this is a passing league. Your secondary is not going to cut it with Slay, who's 32, Avonte Maddox, and Steven Nelson. Like they need a QB1. They need a QB. A CB1, a cornerback one. They need somebody out there that is going to kind of lock their number one guy up at every game. Because Slay, listen, he had a great year this year, but you can't count on him.
I disagree with you, Mark. I think Darius Slay is a cornerback one. It's the pieces behind him that you got to fix. I think Steven Nelson was what. We all wanted Steven Nelson to be the Steven Nelson of old, and it's obvious that he just lost it because he was – I mean, watching the games, Darius Slay this year probably could have been up for comeback player of the year as far as on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, the guy was amazing. I know he's 33.
And that's what I mean. Like he's not going to be the number one shutdown corner forever, and they need to think about his replacement.
So looking at last night's game and compared it to the Eagles, we have the 15th pick, the 16th pick, and the 19th pick in the first round. I know there's a chance we're going to trade some of those to the next year. We might not take all 3 of those. But watching that game last night, we keep talking about that secondary and how we need that defensive line, an edge rusher, having a Aaron Donald or a Von Miller to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. What's the most important thing that we need the Eagles to do to start that process of getting to at least a contending? You say we're not ready for a Russell Wilson to take us over the top. Well, we got to start building that team to get to that point. After watching last night's game, I know Howie Roseman doesn't value linebackers. He doesn't value cornerbacks in the first round, but he does value off defensive line. I'm almost, as much as I'm willing to move picks into 2023, I'm willing to move picks up into the top 5 to go get one of those elite edge rushers because that's what you see. You need an edge rusher. Jason, I know you agree with me on it.
I 100% agree. I would do it now. I would trade 2 of the picks, or even 3, dude. If you had to trade 3 to get in the top 5, I am that much. I think the Eagles, that's been the one piece that they have been missing forever. I mean, we have not had a stud defensive end that can – you look around at all these playoff teams, Phil. You've said it on 30 shows. Every playoff team has a stud defensive end. When I'm talking stud, I'm talking one of these guys that was drafted in the top 3 because that's where they go. That's why they're so hard to get because only the teams that suck get them. So if the Eagles are in a position where they didn't suck, but they got 3 first-rounders, I don't even care about getting 3. If you take 3 middling guys and maybe you hit on one of them, I'd rather trade them and get that guy that's going to get 15 sacks a year and help your defense become what it needs to be and get back to playing defense the way the Eagles used to play it. And that's
I don't remember where it was. I was so busy yesterday, but I saw some Jets beat reporter propose some trade yesterday. The Jets have the number 4 pick. And I don't know the big board and who's going to be there at 4 and who's not going to be there at 4. But I saw it proposed that the Eagles give up 15, 16, and I forget what other pick, like a 3rd or 4th round pick for the number 4 pick from the Jets. And in my mind, I'm like,
Joe Douglas will do it for us.
What's that? Yeah, if you could guarantee
me, I would do that in a heartbeat.
If you could guarantee me one of those elite ends, absolutely, I'm doing that.
Yeah, the Eagles need a guy who's consistently going to give you 10, 12, 13 sacks a year. They need a superstar edge runner because that's a disruptor, and that'll improve your defense like that.
It makes everybody else on your defense better.
And if it means trading up, Jason, like you said, or Phil, like you said, then you go get Andre Dillard and Isaac Sayamalu and call the Bengals and say, we have these 2 guys that are available. One has won a Super Bowl. The other was a former first-round pick. Give us draft capital. And I'm curious if they would do a deal like that.
Because I heard some rumblings and grumblings that Dillard's kind of taking a step back up. If going into last year, Dillard, you couldn't have traded for a 6th-round draft pick. But based off of reports of him practicing, getting better, the little bit of time he saw on the field this year when injuries happened, that I've heard that he might be up to a 3rd to 4th round value now in a trade. So if somebody calls and offers me a 3rd-round pick for Andre Dillard, I'm doing it in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. As long as you have Jeff Stoutland on your squad, and you already do a decent job picking offensive linemen, you don't have to worry about, oh gosh, am I letting go a guy that could be a superstar for me? Because you'll develop 3 others behind him.
Absolutely,
that's the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I realistically believe that. I mean, you just nailed it, in my opinion. Because if you asked me at the end of the Eagles season, like the day that it ended, what were the 2 biggest glaring, areas of need on the Eagles team? To me, it's defensive end and wide receiver. Like, both of those positions are barren. Like, and unfortunately barren, because you spent high draft capital on both sides. I mean, Derek Barnett, call it what it is, but being a 14th pick in the draft, I remember when Derek Barnett was drafted, I was sold a bill of goods. Like, I was told that he broke Reggie White's sack record. He's going to be this amazing guy, and Howie Roseman knows more than you guys, and Howie Roseman's a stud GM, and he knows talent. And I got to be honest with you, Derek Barnett, to me, besides that recovery of the fumble in the Super Bowl, which everyone always likes to harp on and say, well, he did that. Besides that, I don't have
a big play.
Kind of a big deal. If I could use my Ron Burgundy,
it's a big deal. He was in the position to do it. Brandon Graham's the one that got the sack, and to me, it is a big deal. But my point is that doesn't make him not a bust. The guy, that's the most memorable play, and that's the only play that I remember from Derek Barnett's career, besides the stupid penalties, the offside, the roughing the
personal
fouls,
the
personal fouls, the late hits, the nonsense.
Then,
by the way, the injuries too, because he's always got a nicked finger, and he's questionable.
He's got to hang now.
Yeah, come on,
he's a whooping boy.
When you have a defensive end, I want a Joey Bosa. I want a
TJ Watt.
I want a guy that's going to be consistently in the top of the sack leaders. And not only the sack leaders, a guy that wreaks havoc. That every time your team comes in, oh, wow, we have to game plan against that guy. There's nobody on the Eagles team like that. Even Fletcher Cox now at this point in his career does not put the fear into other teams where they say, we have to stop this guy.
I agree. So if it's going to come down to it, and you moving up and getting one of those stud ends, or moving up just a little bit, because I've also seen rumors of them moving up to about the 10th spot to grab one of the cornerbacks or linebacker, like the elite cornerback or linebackers. I still 110% am moving up to get the end, even though we've been pining for an elite linebacker for so long, and we want that young elite cornerback so badly. I'm going end as my number 1 position, 110% with my first pick. No doubt about it.
Again, it's a copycat league. Who did the Cowboys draft in their first round? Micah Parsons, who's a linebacker / edge rusher. Maybe they saw that, and maybe they kind of changed their ways a little bit.
That's what we're hoping. Because again, everybody knows I hate mock drafts, because everybody mocks what they want the Eagles to do, not what Howie Roseman does.
Mm-hmm.
And Howie Roseman doesn't draft certain positions at certain times. And everyone keeps telling me, but that's what we need. I'm like, yeah. But maybe, like you just said, Mark, maybe he's changing a little bit. He changed a little bit last year, going with Alabama players with his first 2 picks. Maybe this year he drafts, some different positions. Mark or Jason, what were you going to say?
Well, no, I think you have to ask the question, are the Eagles better off staying where they're at and just taking the best 3 defensive players available, where you don't know? Because at that range where they're drafting,
The further back
It's like
you
a
go,
huge discrepancy on success versus failure on those kind of picks. Or do you just say, you know what, I'm going to trade if you don't have to trade 3, that's awesome. That's even better. If you just trade 2, the 2 better ones, the 15 and 16, and maybe a second or a third, and move up in that top range and get a guy that's a no-brainer. Like, we knew Devonta Smith was a no-brainer. Like, so that it wasn't, we weren't complaining when the Eagles made that trade. In fact, it was kind of magician like when Howie moved back and then moved back up. Like, oh, and by the way, it was over the Giants, which we can laugh about that all day. But I think your answer to that question is you're so much better going for the guy that you know is going to make a difference, as opposed to saying, well, let's take the 3 best guys available and hope that we hit on them. Because you don't know if they're going to hit on them. And we've seen it with Derek Barnett was the 14th pick. And what do you think the 15th or 16th pick at defensive end?
You take 15 and 16, you move up into the top 10, and then you take number 19 and you move it to 2023 and pick up an extra second rounder.
I would do it in a second.
And that's how you handle the draft this year. You hope to move on from Andre Dillard somehow in the draft to get some extra capital, and that's how you start building this team. So next offseason, we can start talking about getting Russell Wilson in Midnight Green. Because if he doesn't happen this year, I'll start talking about it next year. I'm just kidding, guys.
So somehow
everybody hates my Russell Wilson love. Everybody hates
I don't hate it. I think it's.
I've got 2 James Harden jerseys on the way. If we got Russell Wilson, I'd be buying 2 of those as well. Guaranteed.
Hey guys,
buying James Harden jersey. Yes, I didn't. How did you get one? Because I can't.
I'll tell you off the air. I got a little secret, but I'm going to give one of them away.
Right
live.
here, I'll pay for it.
You're part of Team Trending, so you can't. You're ineligible to win the free jersey.
I'd rather buy it.
my body doesn't look good in basketball jerseys.
Yeah,
but I did see a really cool T-shirt online on PhillyGoat.com. I might get so.
Gotcha. All right, let's have some fun. We got 12. Oh, sorry. Do you have something else you want to say?
No, I wanted to say like somehow that our discussion about the Super Bowl has morphed into the Philadelphia Eagles draft.
Absolutely.
So let's get back on track here.
And let's get to the fun part of the Super Bowl. I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about first? Halftime or commercials? Because we got to address both. Because both were excellent this year.
Well,
we'll go commercials.
Can I start off?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
No, what do you want to say, Jason? Go for it.
I just wanted to say, as you guys know, I am a diehard metal fan. I love metal. Obviously, I have the Sports and Metal podcast. I do happen to like hip hop, but I like old school hip hop. So for me, this was an absolute home run of a show. Like, you can't honestly, I'm not ready to say that it's the best. I saw a ton of people, like I even saw James Harden tweet it, that it was the best halftime show ever. I'm not ready to go to that point yet, or that length, because I still have Prince. Like, to me, was just the whole Purple Rain thing for me, just and him playing guitar. But I will say it is one of the best that I've ever witnessed. I mean, I had chills, first of all, watching it. And the way it was put on was absolutely phenomenal. Like the entertainment and the way that they, all the props and the setup and how they had like the LA streets. Like, you really thought that you were in like Compton. Like, I really felt like I was there. And I honestly, it was amazing. I mean, every performer had a standout performance. Mary J. Blige, what can you say about her? I mean, she's one of the GOATs. I mean,
that's my biggest problem. I had 2 problems with the halftime show, because I loved it just like you, Jason. And I've always been a Dre and a Snoop fan. Eminem, in my opinion, Mount Rushmore hip hop of all time for sure. I could have eliminated Mary J. Blige, 50 Cent, some of the other people. I just wanted more Dre, and I wanted more Eminem. That's what I wanted. I wanted more of those guys.
Well,
because there are my.
You have to have a female, and Mary J. Blige is phenomenal. I agree.
I know, but
I think 50 Cent. I wish 50 Cent and Kendrick Lamar, or whatever his name is. I wish they weren't there.
Give me more of the dude. When they dropped the opening beat of Tupac, California Love, I was like, "Yo, when's the hologram of Tupac going to pop up on the stage?" And it was a perfect opportunity to show some Tupac love. When you heard that opening little riff of that song, and you're like, "Yeah." Oh, he didn't do it. They didn't do it. I was so disappointed. But outside of that, I thought it was a fantastic show. And Mark, I know you shared in our DSM group chat the video that everyone's seen of Snoop prepping for his performance.
Yeah, he had to.
Yeah, he had to have a little.
He smoked a doobie before the game there,
he had to
or
get a
before
little,
the show there.
He had to do something to get that, the jitters of performing in front of 50 million people. He had to loosen it up a little bit.
I love the show. Like they did have some live instruments. I mean, Dre played the piano.
Dude, I did not know he was such a piano. I'm a piano.
Yeah.
I'm a retired piano player. I didn't know he was such a piano virtuoso there.
And I don't know how much was lip synced versus actual singing. I think they sang most of it.
Yeah, there's one point that Mary J. Blige had a track going because you could see that she was a little off there.
Yeah, and I love 50 Cent coming in. I'm a big 50 Cent guy. I thought the show was spectacular. He's a little bulky. He's more like $1.50 now, but
he's not 50 Cent. Yeah, he's $1.50.
I thought the show was great, and I'm going to say this again. I am flabbergasted the NFL greenlit a show like this. Yep. And all week coming home from work, I've been playing Dre songs and Snoop songs and Eminem, and the explicit versions I was listening to, and I'm listening to them, and I'm like, how are they going to fit this song into the medley? That's probably why you only got you Lose Yourself by Eminem. I wanted to see a little bit more from M. But Kendrick Lamar, I know that he's more of a younger generation guy, but he is really good as well. Yeah. Mary J wasn't bad. Mary J, I enjoyed her thigh-high boots. They were nice. I want
to ask though. The NFL.
Yeah, it was a really good show.
I don't know if the rumor is true, but obviously you all saw Eminem kneeling at the beginning of the halftime show, or at the beginning of his part of his halftime show there. The rumor is that the NFL specifically told him before that you are not allowed to kneel. Do you think that rumor is true? Because you knew if the NFL said that you absolutely knew he was going to do it. He didn't care. These performers don't get paid for the halftime show. So he's going to obviously do the complete opposite. It's kind of like when
listen. When
the Doors were on the Ed Sullivan show and they were told not to say "Light My Fire" or whatever, and they did it anyway. Or Nirvana when they were told not to say sing "Rape Me" or whatever. And they did it anyway.
Actually, that's one of my favorite MTV moments when with that. But let's look at the elephant in the room right now. They had an African American singer for America the Beautiful. They had an African American singer for the national anthem. They had an mostly African American show at halftime. Do you want to say the NFL was pandering to a certain group of folks? And those folks, honestly, Dre put out $7 million for that show. He bankrolled the whole thing. You're not going to tell Eminem what to do. And if he wanted to take a knee, so be it. And he did it. And hey, more power to him. I'm happy that happened. But listen, I love the show and I loved all the singers and all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. But again, the hypocrisy of the NFL, it just, anybody with a fourth grade education can see what they were trying to do there. And I don't have a problem with it at all because I think everything went great. But you're not going to put Eminem in his place. You're not going to tell him what to do. That's not how it works with Eminem. That's all I got. Don't get too serious today.
Let's have more fun. Let's talk commercials. Jason, you know which ones I like. Give me some of your favorite commercials from the Super Bowl. I think there's quite a few decent ones.
The best one it's not even a question. It was best as soon as I saw it, and I could have not watched any other commercial, and that was The Sopranos. That to me, when I heard that, and I was like, whoa, my freaking ears went up, and I was like, holy shit. And then I realized it was Meadow, at the wheel. Yeah. I'm like, wow, this is good.
And hugging AJ at the end there. I could just hear Carmela's voice. AJ, come out here right now.
I was watching it and it was like shot for shot, and then the music was playing. And I didn't recognize who was driving, and my wife said, "That's Meadow." And then at the end, my wife just came over and told me, she goes, "Watch the commercial again. When they embrace, you can see tears coming down their face." So those two actors are very, very close. and they do a really popular podcast. But now that they've done this commercial, I want to see a sequel revolved around the both of them and what happened in the aftermath of Tony getting whacked.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
That would be awesome.
That would be great.
The next one, the Larry David crypto one, was a hilarious commercial. Nah, it's not going to work out. I'm trying to explain to one of my employees who's like 22. He's like, "Who's Larry David?" I'm like, "Oh my God, what is wrong with you?" But that was a really good commercial. And one of the dumbest commercials that I absolutely love, Jason, Mark, was the Pringles commercial where the guy gets his hand stuck in the Pringles thing. Because let me tell you, I'm a big Pringles guy. That's like my, I love to pick on Pringles when I'm drinking. And I'm getting down there trying to get the last Pringle out and stuff like that. And the guy went through his whole life with the Pringles jar stuck on his hand. The dumbest commercial in the world, but a fantastic commercial.
That was pretty weird but funny.
I also like the Joneses one with the trucks.
So I still don't even know who the other chick was in that.
Jones.
Who's the girl?
Who was the young girl?
They were all Jones. I didn't know who she was either, but
obviously her name was Jones. I just
and one of the Jonas brothers, was that Nick Jonas at the end?
I don't know.
Yeah,
one of the Jonas brothers.
And that's why but then Tommy Lee was like, "Oh, if you could keep up."
Yeah, I love Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee.
I mean, that was a good. Let's be honest. Like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I thought the commercials were pretty amazing. Like, I've watched so many years recently in recent history where, it's all hype and it's like, dude, that was terrible. Yeah. Like, I didn't get that feeling this year. I believe that they realistically put a newfound energy and passion into making sure that these commercials were like top notch, because I enjoyed almost every one. I mean, there were a couple that weren't.
The Dr. Evil one really let me down. Whenever you have Dr. Evil on a commercial, it's got to be funny. But it was so.
I didn't even know what they were trying to do. It was stupid. I
think they're selling cars.
I know it was cars, but they weren't really. I don't know. It was.
Yeah, it was really how you could screw up that. And I want to bring up one more because I don't even remember what they were hawking.
But the best one. I'm sorry, I said The Sopranos, but my other favorite one was when they had all the TV character football players and then the kids and in the house, and it came through they were actually live in the room.
I might have missed that one.
Yeah, I might have missed that one.
You didn't see it, like Peyton Manning, there was all kinds of players. Devontae Adams, they were like in the kid's house, and then the parents come home and they're like, "Why is the house a mess?"
Must have missed that one.
No, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that one, Jay, because that sounds like it was a good one.
The other one I liked. It wasn't funny, but it was really a great emotional thing. A great thing to end the show with is the Ewan McGregor one in the beginning of the Super Bowl, where he's walking through. Here's the new smartphone. Here's the new TV. We're too worried about buying this and too worried about buying this. And then he opens a door and steps out into a beach when we should be spending more time doing this. And he's on the beach with family and stuff like that. It was either Expedia or one of the travel sites that put it together. But it's a really great point because we all focus on buying the next thing way too much and not enjoying time with our family, traveling, the things that really matter in life. And I thought it was a fantastic message and a fantastic commercial because it really, I might try to go book another vacation now after this show, because it really motivated me to enjoy life a little bit more, that commercial. So it was definitely one of my favorites right there.
I want to get back to halftime performances and what the future may hold. Jason, you're a metal guy. What do you think about Metallica doing the Super Bowl halftime show in Las Vegas?
Is it in Vegas next year? That's right.
In 2 years. That's in 2 years. But that would be a great fit for them. There's always been floating talk around that maybe Metallica could do a halftime show, or why not Metallica, or why not a heavy metal band? I'd love to see Metallica do a show.
I mean, the two bands that I've been clamoring for my whole life are Metallica and AC/DC. Both bands could put on, a spectacular show. They're both legendary. Mm-hmm. I get it that the NFL kind of wants to, cater. They don't put that because that's not what a lot of people want. But to me, I think that actually could do the opposite effect. If you had Metallica, you might get actually more people that that actually are like, wow. Because, let's face it. I mean, they just had their the reunion, show. Obviously, Amazon put on. It was like a 3-day Metallica festival where they basically celebrated Metallica. And, you know, that got like more views than probably anything in the last 20 years. Like a lot of people tuned into that. So why not Metallica at a halftime show? I agree. I've been saying it, but every year it just seems like they don't get picked.
Well, listen, they usually go with the safe picks. This year was not a safe pick.
No.
It
worked out
let's see
perfect.
what happens. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. All right, we got to wrap the show up here today.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to talk on Overreaction Monday about that huge Joel Embiid game on Saturday night, that huge dunk he had on Saturday night. James Harden might be playing in a Sixers uniform tomorrow, but that's why we do this show every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m., trending in the a.m. We're going to wrap it up here, Overreaction Monday. Make sure you're following the whole team here. This is the trending team. I am Phil Stiefel at Beard of Knowledge. We got Mark Moscatelli at Mark with a C, Moscatelli, and Jason Voorhees at Mustang 3651. We're live every morning. We're going to be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to flip the script and go start talking a little bit more basketball and some other things because, you know, I lost all my football bets, but guess what? It didn't matter because I picked my second outright golfer in the last 4 weeks, Scotty Scheffler, 22-1 to win the Phoenix Open, and I covered all my bets for the Super Bowl because my golf show, trending or Fairway to Heaven on Tuesday nights, can't miss. I'm hitting every single week. So we're going to talk that tomorrow too. Jason will be with me tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. Make sure you're following us all, subscribing on YouTube, hitting those thumbs up, doing all that stuff. Come on, guys. Let's continue to grow. We've gone up every single week in views. Let's continue that trend upwards to taking over morning shows. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. And as always, go Birds.
Go Birds.